if I was a CEO trying to get up in front of the shareholders and be like, we're losing money left and right. We lost 1.3 million Disney Plus subscribers after hiking the price. So Frozen 3, Toy Story 5, Zootopia 2, Moana 2, and Inside Out 2.
Hello and welcome to the Nerdiest podcast, where nerds talk about nerdy things. As always, I'm one of your hosts, Mr. Jackson Glass, here with my ride or die, Mr. Nick Barrett, as always. And I want to hear how his week is. But first, I just want to say welcome. Thank you for joining us today. We hope you're having a wonderful day. Today, we're talking about movies we would never watch again. Now, for whatever reason, these movies are just not our taste. They're too long. They're boring. We're going to get into it. There's going to be something in it that we're just like, I can't get over it. Whatever it is. So, that's what we're getting into later. But we have a lot of news because apparently you can't drop news in January for the year. So, we've had a lot of really cool stuff to talk about. A lot of weird stuff, a lot of bad stuff to talk about. So, we're going to bring that up. But before we do that, I'm going to ask Nick how his week is. But before I do that, I'm going to remind you to follow on Instagram at The Nerdiest Podcast and subscribe on YouTube at The Nerdiest Podcast to see beautiful video versions of this exact podcast and clips for when your week is just a little too busy to listen to the full episode. So make sure you subscribe over there, and also links in the description for merch. And you could also become a Spotify subscriber and get special access to our Nerdiest Aftershow. That is out of the way. Mr. Nick Barrett, how's your week been? I want to hear about that.
You know, it's been a pretty crazy, a pretty tiring week, but I have one more thing to add. If you're listening to this episode in the first 3 or so days that it's out,
oh my gosh, I forgot about this.
Still go vote in the Nerdiest Awards. This is it. The next episode is the award show itself. So go vote. We've actually gotten a ton of votes. The poll is looking great. I can't wait to go over all of it next episode. But the link is down below. Voting closes sometime
soon
this week because we're going to record the episode, and obviously then it doesn't matter because we've already got the winners. Yeah. So go vote while it's still open. If you're listening to this later, go listen to the actual award show to see who won and support it because we want to do it again next year too. So you can stick around and vote next year. Now, with that out of the way, my week, it's been a little crazy. It's been a little hectic. And honestly, I'm just ready for it to be over because I'm sick of being an adult. So last week was the launch of Persona 3 Reload, which I'm going to come back to. But I kind of spent my Friday last week going all over the place. And my last week has been really busy because all I've done is social stuff, which sounds bad that I'm like, oh, I'm so tired. But for the last week and a half, I've done pretty much something every night with some group of people. So I'm just very socially drained. So I got Persona 3 Reload last week. I had to go to like 2 different GameStops because the one I normally go to didn't have it. And then I had to drive to a different one 20 minutes away to pick it up, which was 20 minutes further than I would normally go. So it was 40 minutes back. But I got it. And you might be thinking, why'd you go to GameStop? I went to GameStop because I had games to trade in, and that made it $45 cheaper. So say what you will about GameStop, but $45 off a $70 game is $45 off a $75 game.
Right.
So I picked that up. I've been playing that the last week. And honestly, that's really all I've been doing. If you've noticed, the YouTube content has been a little sparse. It's because I've been playing Persona instead of editing. We're also not going in a different direction, but trying to figure out what to do with the YouTube. So just trying to refigure out that content. But I do want to go over some brief first impressions of Persona 3 because this is my second Persona game ever. If you don't count, I played one of the Persona 5 spin-offs. So mainline Persona game, This is my second one. I played Persona 5. That is in my top 5 favorite games of all time. And that's really my only exposure with the Persona series. So I really tried to go into it as a fan of Persona and not a fan of Persona 5 because I know Persona 5 does a lot of things differently. And Persona 3 also does a lot of things differently because they're different games. They have a different cast, different time period, different way of getting the personas and like all of these things. But this is also why I waited to play the remake because I knew they were going to make it a lot more similar to Persona 5. So, couple things I will note is it is a very fun game. It is a very addicting game. And what's nice is going into this game, I actually know how to play a Persona game now. Because when I started Persona 5, I was completely unaware of like how to space out your day, how to maximize your day, get your social links, work your part-time job, make your money, go do the palaces. Like, I was really confused on all of that for the first 3 months in game until like my friend Colin, I essentially was streaming it on Discord and we would sit here until like late at night just grinding Persona 5, which was really fun. But now going into Persona 3, I know how to do all of that. I actually have my iPad sitting in front of me, but whenever I'm playing, I have, because you can dual screen on an iPad, I have my own personal notes broken down by day of like what social links I can do on what day, when I'm working my part-time job, what else I have on those days. And then next to it, I have like the guide for all the social links so I can max them out and actually do it right. So those two things put together make this a lot more enjoyable, even though it sounds like a lot. And it sounds like, why would you want to put that much work into a video game? It's really not as much work as it sounds. I really love the music, which Persona has always had really great music. I think that's one of the biggest staples of the series. The music is great. The characters are great. The combat is actually, it's intense because I forgot how intense it was because it's a turn-based RPG. So having to like get reaccustomed to all the weaknesses and stuff, fusing personas is not something I was good at in Persona 5. So now I'm really trying to like learn the ins and outs of the fusing system and how to make sure all the skills transfer over and what's the most ideal way to fuse personas. And I have been doing a lot of grinding in Tartarus. For those who have played Persona 3 before, you'll understand what I mean by that. So I'm also like trying to do it all in one go. So like I'll just turn on a podcast and be like, all right, gonna grind 30 floors of Tartarus and just hope for the best and get it all done at once. So I think last night when I saved, I have 12 hours in it already, which doesn't sound like a lot, but when you work a 40-hour-a-week job and have a social life, I was shocked that I found 12 hours of my schedule to put into a video game. So all that being said, I look forward to playing it more because I can already tell it's going to be a very different game story-wise, and I'm very excited to see where that goes and where all these characters go. And I asked Colin, I was like, hey, just based on the intro, this game seems like it's going to be just a little dark because also the way you summon your persona is by taking a gun and putting it to your head and shooting yourself in the head. So like that's pretty dark compared to like Persona where you're just ripping off, or Persona 5 where you're ripping off the mask. And he was like, yeah, it's definitely a much darker game. And I'm like, oh, cool.
See, I find it wildly entertaining. You're like, my week was so long. I just don't want to be an adult. I'd rather just play my game where I have a part-time job and go to school and have to do all these social things. And, it sounds like a lot of work. It's just more fun, It's just more... And I'm just kind of like... I was sitting here like, wait a minute. You just described exactly what you said you wanted to escape from.
So I found this post on Twitter. It's really funny. Yeah. Gamer perfectly balances work, school, and social life in Persona by ignoring all these things in real life. And it's
That's
like,
perfect.
Here's the thing though, is when you're playing the game, it's different because you don't have to actually like sit through school. You're not stuck there for 8 hours. You're stuck there for like 30 seconds and you move on to the next thing.
Right.
So it does sound weird. They're like, oh, I'm sick of being an adult, but I'm going to go play a game where I live as a virtual teenager.
Right.
It does sound weird, but Persona 3 Reload is really fun. I just vibe to the opening every single time. Like, I will not skip it every time I play because I got to get myself in the right mental space. It's also very different because I'm playing on PlayStation, which I've never played a game on PlayStation before. So I have to get used to all the different buttons because all the different buttons are in a different place than they are on Switch or Xbox. And then I have to fight the urge because, like, you know how Xbox and Switch controllers look? They have the offset analog sticks. The PlayStation, they're right next to each other. So I have to fight the urge for my hand to go up to where it would normally be, and, like, they're on the same level. So getting used to the controls has been a really big learning curve, too. But I am glad I could get the game on PlayStation because it seems like Xbox is not doing too hot.
Great.
Well, we'll come back to that in a minute.
We'll come back to that.
Persona 3 Reload, that's been my week.
Nice.
And I'm excited to play more after we finish recording this episode because that's all I'm going to do tonight.
That's hype.
Play Persona.
That's hype.
What about you? How's your week been? I'll pass it off to you.
It was good. Question mark. It was good.
Oh.
Here's the thing. We are like 5 weeks into school at this point, which is insane to me. Because I'm like, there's no way I haven't learned anything. It's been 5 weeks. Where's the learning start?
Right.
But like, I'm at a point where I can't even force myself to focus on things. Like, it's legitimately just so exhausting to be a full-time student with a part-time job with 3 hobbies that any creative energy you have is gone. And so I kind of learned this week about myself. I'm like, I am a one project mind. So like this week, I'll be honest and tell you what I've been doing this week. I've been working on a bingo game. And I was put in sole charge of like the university bingo game, and it was so fun. It was such a good time. I made like 6 videos. It was like a huge, big ordeal. Programmed a whole light show, like everything. It was a big deal. And I was like, okay, I need to work on this script, but I also have to do bingo. And then like my creative energy with the script just wasn't flowing, and I was like, I don't really know what to do with this. And I was like, I'm kind of stuck. Do I just scrap this whole idea? Like, I don't know. And then bingo ended last night, and we did bingo last night. It was great. And then I woke up this morning with such a clear understanding of where the script needed to go. And I was just like, oh, it's been there all along. I just didn't have the mental or creative space in my head to see it because I had so many other things happening, so many moving parts. So I'm really excited, and I'll tell you this now. We're filming a short film next weekend, and it's going to be big, big hype. You will get to see it eventually, but it's gonna hit a couple. It's gonna have a cute little festival run before it goes to YouTube because that's what professional filmmakers do.
Just like last year with Grandma's Garden.
Just like Grandma's Garden.
Last year. We hit a couple festivals, and then that sucker was put on YouTube for all of you to see.
That junk goes to YouTube.
You gotta wait patiently.
So yeah, that's the plan. I mean, I'm just working on stuff, man. I've done so much content in the last like month, and a lot of people don't like the word content, and they're like, oh, it dehumanizes like art, and I'm like, I think the word content is fun. But
that's what it is, though.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's content. I think it's fun to be like, yo, this is content. So I mean, like, I did 6 videos for bingo. At work, I was put in charge of our Instagram, and I've just been cranking stuff out on there. And it feels really, really good, to just create. It feels really good to be in a steady creative pace. We're doing podcast stuff. Like, I'm working on stuff for that. I have new personal YouTube stuff coming out soon that I'm very excited about. Like, all these things coming together. So it's a good week because of all that. But man, I gotta juggle that while also going to school. Bruh. That's crap.
I understand how you feel because I also Like, one of my goals I set for this year was to finish at least one of my passion project, like one of my writing passion projects by the end of the year. So that way next year I can say, okay, let's format it into a show, manga, whatever. And we're 2 months in and I haven't sat down and done anything.
Yeah.
Because by the time I have the time to sit down and do something, the last thing I want to do is anything involving any level of brain power.
Yes.
I just want to veg out and play a game or watch a show or watch a movie or whatever. So I understand how you feel. And that is kind of the downside of being a creative is you like creating stuff, but you also end up turning everything into a creative thing. And it doesn't help. Like, I am super blessed to work at a place where I can be creative, but that also pulls a lot of my creative energy throughout the day. So by the time I get home, I don't want to do anything creative because I want to turn that part of my brain off and just relax. So it is very difficult, especially when you're working a 40-hour a week job like I am. Because it's like, yeah, I work 40 hours a week and then find some time to do everything else. And I'm been told by multiple people that I need to stop doing that because I'm going to burn myself out eventually and be able to do nothing for like a month.
Which makes sense. I feel like there is an argument of like, you know, you need to let yourself rest and you need to just stop and recoup. And that's what I've been doing today. Like, I'm just kind of like I don't want to worry about it. I'm going to pick up the script tomorrow and I'm going to figure it out. Like, I've been working on this for like 3 weeks. You get a day.
Right.
But I also I say like in like the most least toxic work environment way possible. When else are you going to do it? Like, there's a point where you got to do it. And like, you know, sometimes it's harder than other times, but I felt like for me personally, like if I just start, I start to flow and I love it and I get with it. And it's just the initial start that gets really hard. So I don't know. That's what's up. I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be creating here on the podcast.
I am
again.
always happy to do the podcast. I'm
always
telling
happy
you,
to be here.
Going bi-weekly after going weekly for so long is so hard because I like start building up all this stuff that I want to talk about. Like there's a couple things that we were going to talk about this week that got moved to the next episode because it's like we just can't, like, we'll be here for an hour and a half before we get into the main topic, and the main topic this week's actually kind of beefy.
Yeah.
So you got to like space it out.
That being said, there's a lot of news going on right now, but we need a news drop. That's actually
we really do.
Not a bad idea. The news. So our first piece of news.
News that won't stress you out, by the way.
News that won't.
Usually the news makes you anxious. This news is actually cool. In a way.
This is cool.
Some of it is cool.
In a way. It's cool in the sense of like, you know, it's not the end of the world news, you know?
Yeah. We're not talking about the end of the world.
So anyway, the Sonic 3 logo just dropped.
What a jump. What a jump. We're not talking about the end of the world. By the way, Sonic the Hedgehog 3. Still coming out in December, but they did drop a thing. I don't even know how long ago. It was like a week ago at this point.
Yeah.
They dropped like the official logo. It looks sick. They're getting really into teasing Shadow. And they said that Jim Carrey is coming back as Eggman, which is very interesting because I didn't think they were going to do that.
Well, even Jim Carrey said that this was his last role.
So, actually, that is not true.
Oh.
He said, according to what he actually said, and everyone interpreted it as this is his last movie, he's done. What he said was he is not going to take on any new roles unless they gave him a really good golden script.
Okay.
Eggman is a recurring role that he seems to really enjoy doing, so therefore he's going to keep doing it, which is kind of interesting that a lot of these older actors or like really successful actors are getting to the point where they can just kind of do whatever they want.
Yeah.
Like Jim Carrey doesn't need to be in a bajillion movies to make his money. Like he's already made his money. He can just do things that he wants to do for fun to kind of like cap off and end out his career. So
I think that's dope. And then among that, they also showed a new trailer for the Knuckles show that will go to
Which
Paramount Plus.
Actually, looks
Which
kind of
looks
solid. I'm
Low-key
not gonna
really
lie.
good.
I'm gonna watch it. Whether or not I take a free trial for Paramount or pay the month, I don't know. It's also kind of unclear on whether or not it's dropping all at once.
Yeah.
Or if they're doing like weekly, because the way the poster says it is like stream the 6-episode event on April whatever, and I'm like, okay,
yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the plot will look like. I don't know if like Sonic is in it or if they're like this and that. I don't know. I think it looks good. I'm kind of excited for it. What's the date on that? Because it has a release date.
Knuckles is April 26th, I believe.
Okay.
So yeah, looks pretty solid.
There's not a lot of info about it, so we can't really say a whole lot. But
it's just going to be focused on Knuckles, and it's nice because it looks like it's maintaining a quality similar to the movie.
Right.
And it's not just going to be like a cheap TV spin-off. Like they're actually
Sonic
putting
Boom
time and effort
type.
into it. And it does seem like they're using it to bridge the gap between Sonic 2 and 3. And there's going to be stuff in it that is going to be relevant in Sonic 3.
Right.
So
that's
it
exciting.
is going to be required watching for those of us who really love this Sonic cinematic universe.
Really into the Sonic trilogy. So yeah, that looks pretty good. The rest of this news is
bad.
Tied by a similar narrative of just like
the end of the world.
Just generally thinking, what are we doing? What's the plan here, guys? What's the this is our next news segment that I call what's the plan here, guys? So Moana 2 is coming out apparently, which it doesn't even have like a cute catchphrase or anything. It's just Moana 2, which feels like a meme, and I didn't
Moana
believe it
2,
at first.
The Way of Water.
Moana 2, Electric Boogaloo, or like Moana 2, Maui's Revenge, or like Moana 2, like Hey Strikes Back. Hey girl, something like that. But no, just Moana 2. Releases in November, by the way. Was supposed to be a series, Disney Plus original series, but got turned into a movie, and it pushed back the release date of the live action Moana, which that's another thing that I'm like, guys, what's the plan here? They're like, what if we just monopolized on Moana, everyone's favorite movie, out of nowhere anyway? And they're like, Moana 2 drops in November. And everyone was kind of like, okay, that was random. And then they're like, the original cast is in talks of coming back. And we're like,
wait a minute. You hold on a second.
You didn't talk to the original cast? Like, hello?
What the heck?
You mean to tell me? I'm sorry. Hold on. You dropped a trailer for a movie that you don't know the cast for.
Everyone's kind of speculating. They're wondering if it's more in talks on how much they're going to get paid because they're changing it from a show to a movie.
Yeah.
Not necessarily whether or not they're going to come back, because it does seem really weird that you have a movie coming out in 9 months and you wouldn't have any of your like lines done. Like,
right.
As far as I'm aware, the animation process starts with voice acting because they have to pick the takes that they like. And then because they have to be able to lip sync the mouths to what is being said
to
specifically.
The voices.
They can work roughly off of what the script says, but you can't do any of your specifics until you have your actual
audio
lines.
Right.
So what's very interesting is that they seemingly don't have that at all, and the movie comes out in 9 months. 9.5 months.
My favorite.
And we don't have that?
Dude, my favorite Twitter post all week was, what was it? What is it? Straight to DVD
it was a reply
sequels.
to my tweet that was straight to DVD. Hold on, I'm going to pull it up because I don't want to butcher it. It was that good.
We need credit. You need to give credit where credit is due because it's legitimately
gonna
so
give
funny.
credit because this was the best thing.
Legitimately so funny.
So responding to my tweet, Ethan Pioro says, direct-to-DVD sequels are back, baby, complete with low-effort voice cast, low-grade songs, and rushed out to make a quick buck.
Let's go.
Moana 2, The Enchanted Christmas.
Bruh. So,
we've got it right there.
Not
Boom.
only do we
You're
get
welcome,
a
Disney.
live-action Moana, we get a Moana 2. So
Okay, can we talk about that for a second, though? What is the plan here? Because we're doing live-action Moana next year,
Right.
less than a year after the sequel to the original came out.
guys, what's going
Somebody
on here?
needs to replace Bob Iger. Bob Iger
No,
is just
for
not.
real.
Whoever's cooking up the schedule is.
I buy into the theory that Bob Iger is tanking Disney so he can sell it to Apple for profit. I buy into that, guys.
It's the only thing that makes sense. Because also, Disney just decided to announce a bunch of stuff. There's not
out of nowhere.
Because it was Moana 2. Disney paid $1.5 billion to buy 10% of Epic Games.
Which is like...
To do a Fortnite crossover? What the frick? What is that? Because, to quote Bob Iger, he says, I looked at Gen Z and millennials and saw that they played video games, and I think we need to be there. And
you
I'm like,
were there. Then you
my
canceled
brother in
Disney
Christ,
Infinity.
you're the reason. You're the reason that there's no Disney games. What are you talking about?
I'm like, bro.
You had plenty of great studios making plenty of great games, and you shut them down one by one one, so you didn't have any games.
Some of y'all have never played Epic Mickey, and it shows.
Dude, that's what I'm saying.
The game goes crazy.
So they announced that.
So continuing on the... Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Toy Story 5 has a date.
Which is
Frozen
BS.
3 has a date. They're both 2026. Zootopia 2 is 2025. Elio is 2025. And there was another one. But if you look at their slate, it's really just everything has a number next to it except for Elio that comes out next spring.
Yeah.
And that's their movie slate, by the way.
And it's like, I don't think you can give a date when it's not done. Like,
it's not looking too hot for Disney
not
right
looking
now.
great.
Somebody responded and said
you know,
the reason they're doing it is because they don't want the shareholders to realize how much money Disney has been hemorrhaging over the last 4 years. And I'm like, I mean, honestly, if I was a CEO trying to get up in front of the shareholders and be like, we're losing money left and right. We lost 1.3 million Disney Plus subscribers after hiking the price. So Frozen 3, Toy Story 5, Zootopia 2, Moana 2, and Inside Out 2.
Do you think that
How does that sound?
Do you think they're trying to like recoup the audience? They're like, hey, this isn't adventurous at all. This is really safe. You should come to this.
No.
Like,
we need to do a sequel to the Disney Downfall episode.
Yes.
Badly, like ASAP.
ASAP.
But I don't think I think it's too late.
No.
Like we kind of talked about that in the Wish review. It's too late. Like they can course correct all they want.
Right.
It's too late though because the public perception is already in the negative. So it's going to take you like a decade of really, really good movies to get you back breaking even.
If they can go back to what they used to do, then they could be solid. Like they could be good. But no.
Yeah.
So continuing on this...
also,
go ahead.
To interrupt you again, The Mandalorian and Grogu got a date for 2026, and the Rey movie also got a date for 2026. So Rey is coming out in May, and The Mandalorian is coming out in December. And I'm looking at them, and I'm so confused because Disney, the last time you put two Star Wars movies this close together, it didn't go very well for either of them. People hated The Last Jedi, which I'm not even going to get into that. I'm just going to say people hated The Last Jedi, and they weren't over it by the time Solo came out. So Solo underperformed and lost its sequel and its spin-off series in the whole 9 yards. So maybe, just maybe, we don't need 2 Star Wars movies this close together.
I want Star Wars in the theater. I want to see so much Star Wars in the theater. But this is not a good plan, guys. This isn't
It's
it.
too close.
So, continuing on the thread of, guys, what's the plan here?
Oh.
I can't even
What
say
is
it.
the plan here?
I
Come
can't
on.
even say it. A new Jurassic Park movie is coming to theaters.
We totally freaking called
July
it, by the
2nd,
way.
2025, which, if you listen to the Jurassic Park-tacular, which is one of our best
2 years
episodes of all
ago,
time.
We called it. We said if that movie did good, it was not going to be the last one. And look where we're at now.
Here we are. They want a 7th Jurassic Park movie, which, by the way, there is one good Jurassic Park movie. Of
There's already
the
5
6.
too many Jurassic Park movies.
More information on that in the Jurassic Park-tacular. Go listen to that. There's no director. It comes out July 2nd, 2025, by the way. There's no
a year
director.
and a half from now.
There's no plot. There's no script. They're essentially like, yeah, this is going to be done in a year and a half. We're about to start.
But we don't have a director, so it's cool.
So, well, I saw the news and it was like the so-and-so Jurassic Park movie coming out. And then like a few minutes later, it was like, so-and-so is in talks to direct. And I was like, what do you mean in talks? What do you mean
this
in
is
talks?
another one of those, like, what do you mean in talks? You already set a date. Like, and something, I don't remember where it was. It was, this is a throwback. So, way back, 2 years ago, when we did our Marvel Fatigue Saga episode, there was a clip that I cut out where we talked about Marvel dropping their dates for all these movies, like, way far in advance. And somebody commented and said the reason that they do that is to essentially control that space. So they say, hey, Jurassic Park is coming out in July of 2025. So now that sets the expectation for other movies that are further along in development that we're looking at that time space, and they'll say, okay, I don't want to compete with Jurassic Park. I'm going to shift to before or after. Even it doesn't matter if the movie hits. I mean, you see Marvel delaying movies left and right.
Right.
But they've already, like, other movies have already shifted their production schedules to meet different timelines. So if you keep, like, delaying stuff, it's just this never-ending domino effect of, well, we're putting our movie here, so people delay, and then they're going to delay past that, and then they're going to delay past that, and then eventually the movies come out.
Right.
But it's
and
just
then they're
kind of
garbage.
stupid.
Yeah. No, it's like having a seat saver. It's just not, like, you don't, there's no saved seats. I remember this one time, this is a little analogy. I remember this one time, I was at church, and I was like 5 years old, and someone was like, hey, can I sit here? And there was a seat next to me, and I said, no, I'm saving that seat. And then the teacher, who's my mom at the time, she said, hey, there are no saved seats. If no one's sitting there, then it's open. And then the kid sat there, and he was so annoying. I don't even remember his name, but he was so annoying. Anyway, there's no saved seats. Like, this is so stupid and feels unethical. Like, it's really...
I guarantee you that movie gets delayed.
Oh, it has
There's
to be.
no way it doesn't get delayed.
We are, like... Also, what is with this, like, milking of franchises going on right now? We're like, oh, franchise is done. We don't have any other ideas, so Jurassic Park 7.
Just kidding. Honestly, I want them to do something very different. And we talked about this in the Jurassic Park-tacular, is like, go full horror route. I don't know. Do something different. Just don't make it dinosaurs in a park again.
Right.
Like, don't do,
like,
dinosaurs in a park, but now we can make hybrids because we have bigger science.
And it's like...
No, do something different.
And then...
I'd also like to contrast this to Nintendo in a series of tweets announcing the Zelda movie with no date, but at least they have a director, a writer, a producer. Like, they've got their fundamental people. Right. And they're like, we don't got a date, but we are making it.
Because they trust their audience. They know no matter what the date is, you're going to go see it. Right. And it's kind of like, they know. They know that Jurassic Park 7 will have an audience, but not in the same way, especially after the way Dominion performed, because that movie's hot garbage.
It's hot garbage, but it did make $1 billion.
Right, which sucks. But, like, I don't know. Well, moving forward on, hey guys, what's the plan? Warner Brothers Discovery. If you thought Disney was bad, Warner Brothers is in a much worse position. There's a stat came out in like early January that like Warner Brothers has like a 65% chance of bankruptcy in like the next year. And I'm just like, 65% is like really high. Like if you like,
if I worked at Warner Bros. Right now, I'd be job hunting.
No, same. I would be updating
else.
my LinkedIn.
I'd be like nope.
Like
I'm getting out of here.
So essentially, they were working on a movie called Coyote versus Acme, which would be a new installation in like a live action animation combination universe, like an old Looney Tunes movie. And it was going to be the Wile E. Coyote and versus Acme in like a legal battle. And what I saw of it looked really, really funny. I thought it was going to be incredible. I was like, this is a really great idea. Looney Tunes, like we have the technology for it to make a comeback and do like the hybrid thing really, really well, similar to like Sonic is doing. Like there is a really, really big market for that right now. And we haven't seen like Looney Tunes do something big in a really long time. And that's a franchise that everyone loves. Naturally, the movie is literally almost done. There was a director's cut. They needed to do like one more editing pass and it was ready to be shipped off. So Warner Brothers was offering this film to different streaming services and distribution platforms. And they said, hey, we'll give you this movie for like $80 million. And they presented it to, they rejected offers from Netflix, Amazon, and Paramount. So the studios wanted the movie. Netflix, Amazon, and Paramount wanted the movie for $80 million. And they not only said no, but they refused to let them counteroffer. So they were not only...
Feels a little suspicious.
Not only did they say, no, we don't like that. They essentially said, you're done. Like, we're not coming back for this. And then the CEO of Warner Brothers Discovery, David Zaslav, or however you say his name, says, okay, let's delete the movie. Huh? He says, let's not only shelf the movie, let's delete the movie. And then it came out that he never saw the movie. He never watched the movie. And he said, guys, let's scrap this entirely. Delete it from existence.
I don't even know what to say. I'm just going to say, it seems really fishy that these three big studios said, hey, we'll take this movie. Like, we'll take this movie off your hands. They're like, no, we actually don't want to sell it. Because you're either not paying us what we want, or for legal reasons, because we saw this with the Batgirl movie, that they also just deleted, is just gone. I think they got in some kind of legal trouble for trying to use it as a tax loop without offering it up. So I feel like they offered this one up so they can say, we tried. And then when anybody tried to counteroffer, they were like, no, sorry.
Yeah.
We just needed to put it up there so when we delete it, the government doesn't come after us for tax embezzlement or whatever.
Yes.
So
he wants to delete it for tax purposes.
Of course
to
he
get
does.
The tax write-off, which I just looked it up because I wanted to fact check that. There is a representative from Texas who is calling for legal action on Warner Brothers right now.
Good. They're like, they've turned into a money laundering company at this point.
No, literally. That's literally what they're saying is like, hey, this isn't legal or ethical and you're making all these people do this work and then they don't get any reward for it and you're like profiting off of destroying their work.
I don't see the harm in putting the movie out there. Like, if it does bad, it does bad. But you give it a chance.
They did this. That's what they did the Batwoman movie, and it's just kind of like, bro, like. And then they did that with all the HBO stuff, and then they dropped the name, and it's just like, this is the definition of, guys, what's the plan here? Where's the logic in this? And I think that they're so. this might be telling of the state that they're legitimately in, where they're like, if this movie flops, we're done. Like, this is it for us. But I feel like this movie had a really solid audience. If Coyote vs. Acme went to Netflix or even Prime, it could have been huge, because those family movies are popping off right now because there's really hard to find good ones. So, like, you know, Leo, which is the Adam Sandler movie that went to Netflix, is just a fun little family movie. Absolutely demolished. It did phenomenal. What was wrong with the Netflix offer? I don't understand. It's so greedy and just really gross and disgusting, and update to follow. But like, man, how do you just delete the movie? Like, it's done.
Right.
Like, just release it. So I don't know. That's kind of where I'm at on that one. That made me unfathomably just angry. And I was just like, what's the plan here, guys? I don't get it. Warner Brothers is in a really bad spot. Speaking of companies in a bad spot,
oh boy,
would you like to take this one away?
I would like to take this one away because I feel like this is a big deal. So, rumor has it. First of all, rumor has it. I'll end with the good rumor from this week.
Right.
So right now, the speculation is, and this will definitely not, it could age very poorly, because Microsoft is rumored to essentially be killing Xbox.
Yeah.
And you might think, what does that mean? So it initially started out last week, beginning of this week, with a bunch of Xbox exclusive IP rumored to be coming to PlayStation and Nintendo Switch. And the one that kind of kicked this off was Hi-Fi Rush, which was one of their big exclusives last year, now is rated for PS4, PS5, Nintendo Switch, whole 9 yards. So everyone's like, okay, in the next Direct, whatever, Hi-Fi Rush is going to get shown off. It's going multi-platform. That's kind of cool. Like, it's a smaller game. Like, sure, put it out there. And then the rumor continued into, well, now we're looking at the Master Chief Collection could be going to PS5 and Nintendo Switch. Sea of Thieves could be going multi-platform. Microsoft Flight Simulator. Starfield was their big exclusive game last year.
Mm-hmm.
And they're talking about putting it on PlayStation. That's a big deal. Gears of War, Indiana Jones, and future games from Bethesda, which is like Fallout.
Mm-hmm.
It's another big franchise that Xbox had. And id Software, which is like all the Doom games. So like any future Doom games would be multi-platform. So everyone is kind of freaking out of like, okay, well, this ain't doing too hot.
Right.
So then the rumor continued into, I think it was the Xbox president. I'm trying to double check. I'm trying to remember where, because I didn't write all of it down. I'm trying to remember where I sent it to you. Yeah, okay. So essentially the new president of Xbox, or like the Microsoft game division, wants to take Xbox full third party. So they're getting rid of their consoles entirely. And there was actually a leak a couple years ago, or a year ago, when Xbox and Sony were going back and forth about buying Activision Blizzard, is the next Xbox console is, there's only one more coming out in 2026, and it's a full digital. There is no disc slot, no
That's an
nothing.
L. That's
it is
an L.
full digital, and that's it. And it's
That's
only
an L.
one console, which is a whole different conversation for a different day, different episode. But they're doing that, exiting console hardware entirely, because the Xbox just isn't selling as well as the Switch or the PlayStation, which, to be fair, I kind of understand that. But also, this is one of the big three, like, video game consoles. Like, it boggles my mind that there is a world where I have kids and I have to tell them, well, back in my day, we had the Xbox.
Right.
And that was a
like,
cool
isn't
thing.
that crazy? It's like the new
Which
Atari.
I kind of get it.
Like,
yeah, it's like the Atari or the Sega. Like,
Yeah.
oh, back in my day, we used to have a Sega. Like, That's insane to me. And apparently they're looking for third-party hardware manufacturers to make Xbox-branded consoles.
Ooh.
And they're only wanting to do one final upgrade to make a digital Xbox Series X. And then they're done.
I don't like
and
that.
I'm like, what do you mean? And then they're talking about rebranding from Xbox Game Pass to Microsoft Game Pass and just getting rid of the Xbox branding entirely. And everybody's kind of freaking out about it.
That makes me so sad.
Because this is a big deal.
It makes me so sad. I grew up on Xbox.
My Xbox is right there. I have an Xbox One S that I bought in 2016. Some of my most iconic gaming memories are on that Xbox.
Me too.
So Xbox going away is very sad and very weird. And the reason I say this could age poorly or not is because Phil Spencer, who is the president of Xbox, said, hey, we're going to do like a press release or a press conference or whatever because all these rumors have been going around, and we're going to talk about the future of Xbox. And everyone's like, what does that mean?
Right.
Does that mean like you're going to get on stage and say,
say?
Xbox is going away. Xbox is gone. No more games.
Goodbye.
Multi-platform all the way. Which honestly, looking down from Microsoft's perspective, I understand why they would want to go this direction, because the consoles aren't selling, the exclusives aren't selling, because if the consoles aren't selling, the exclusives aren't going to sell. And there's a lot more money to be made when you look at the Nintendo Switch has 100 million users, and they can barely get Xboxes off of shelves. So there is more money to be made if you take those exclusives and put them on Switch,
Right.
if you put them on PlayStation. Because let's be honest, those two consoles are just more popular.
They're more popular and
because
they're more efficient.
it's because Xbox didn't prioritize doing exclusives 10 years ago.
Nope.
That they've now had this slow decline, and now they're kind of like at rock bottom, and they've never been able to surpass the Switch, let alone the PS5. And now the Switch 2 is right around the corner, maybe. So
In theory.
that could sell another 100 million units that you can put more games on.
Well, here's the thing, though. If the Switch 2 is everything it's cracked up to be, and everyone's saying, like, oh, you can run AAA titles on it, there's an entire user database right there that they could sell Fallout games to, that they could sell Sea of Thieves to, that they could sell Halo games to. Like,
You can put Forza on there.
if that's what
Like-
I'm saying. Like, if the Switch 2 is stupid powerful like they're saying it is, I would play Forza games on it. I absolutely would. And
Absolutely. That would
there's
be
like
sick.
so many people that I don't see this as necessarily a bad thing. I just think it's sad that they're almost being forced to do it. Like, if they were doing it
think-
out of the genuine, like, oh my gosh, we really want this to be a community around the games, not just exclusives, because console exclusives are kind of dumb anyway. But also, like, this is a big deal because this might be it for them. This might be their Hail Mary.
Yeah, and what's really
So-
interesting is they pivoted hard towards Game Pass, but under this new system, they're almost pivoting away from Game Pass
Yeah.
and not putting as much day one on Game Pass, which would make sense because Phil Spencer also said they want to get Game Pass on as many devices as humanly possible,
Yeah.
which includes the Switch, which includes the PlayStation. Like, could you imagine Xbox Game Pass on Switch?
Bro.
Like,
I
that would go
pay
crazy.
For it. I would pay for
I would
a
pay for it.
Microsoft Game Pass on the Switch because they have some incredible titles on the Game Pass. And I honestly, the more that I find out about this, the more that I'm okay with it. Because I feel like the Xbox Game Pass is a phenomenal system. Because especially for someone like me who likes to try new games but doesn't want to give like $80 to a game that I don't know if I'm going to love.
Right.
And so, like, I can play it through that library, which has the risk of it getting taken out of the library the same way that, like, a streaming platform would. But I can really be like, oh, I'm going to try this out and I love it. And then if they're like, hey, this is leaving in 30 days, you know, if I truly love it, I'll go buy it. And I'll just be like, okay, I love this game. I'm this far into it. I should buy
Yeah.
it. And if that was on the Switch, it would go crazy.
I think the bigger issue comes more from a market standpoint.
Yeah.
Because it is very clear and very evident that Sony does not see Nintendo as competition at all, despite the fact that the Switch has been absolutely spanking the PS5 for the last 3 years. It's only gone down recently because the Switch has been out twice as long. You think the Switch 2 is not going to dominate the PS5 the second it comes out? If it's all it's cracked up to be, that PS5 is going to be gone because they have no exclusive games. They have I can count on 2 hands how many games are exclusive to PS5 right now.
Yeah.
That same number, Nintendo will put out that many exclusive games for Switch 2 in the first 8 months.
Yep.
So it more comes down to that's the issue, is if Xbox is no longer a factor and they're just a third party making games for all the other consoles, that opens up the door for Sony to basically do whatever they want in the much larger gaming space that they think they own.
Yeah.
Because Nintendo is the console for kiddies and, families, and it's not a serious console, even though Xbox said we're going to put Call of Duty on the Switch for the next 10 years.
Right, which is a big deal.
And it's going to be comparable to the other versions that are on other consoles.
Yeah.
I don't know how much. Listen, the Switch is the highest. It's like the 3rd highest selling console of all time, and you want to tell me it's not direct competition to PlayStation?
Do you think that the Switch could surpass the PS2 in highest selling of all time?
No.
Yeah.
Because I think as soon as the Switch 2 comes out, it's gonna stop selling.
Sales.
I don't think they're gonna make enough to sell it over. It'll get very close. If the Switch 2 is everything it's cracked up to be, then I think it could, building off of the momentum of the first Switch, because you'll have everyone from Switch 1 who would want to go
upgrade
to the next one. So, speaking of which, our last little bit of news, and then we'll move into the main topic. I know we're an hour in almost.
This is what you're here for.
This is what you're here for. This is a good discussion. So, rumor has it that the Nintendo Switch 2, which we've been talking about a little bit here, is getting revealed next month in March. And they're doing a big blowout, and they're going to show off the console and maybe some games and give a release date. It's a rumor, but my caveat is it's a rumor from someone who also said, one, has a very good track record of saying stuff like this.
Right.
And he basically said, hey, from what I've heard, they're ready to announce it and they're going to do it in March.
Yeah.
Because that makes the most sense. You're at the end of your fiscal year. You're getting ready. The investors want to know, hey, what do you got from April of 24 to March of 25? What's going on? Boom. Nintendo Switch 2. Here's all the games that are coming. Here's what we got cooking. My caveat of getting really excited, because I'm still kind of on the fence, because I've done this song and dance before with the Switch Pro way back when. The same person who said Switch 2 is getting announced next month also said that the Nintendo Direct for February is going to be a partner showcase next week, or this week when this episode comes out. So if we pull up next week and have a partner showcase, I'll be like, you know what? Yeah, Switch 2 is getting revealed next month. I really want it to be everything that it's rumored and cracked up to be, something on par with a PS4, which, by the way, it was a PS4 Pro docked Xbox Series S handheld, which is dude.
That's handheld.
That's a massive jump for Switch.
Yeah.
That's a big
deal.
And everybody dogging on PS4. Hey, PS4 Pro plays games very similar to the PS5.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? Everyone's like, the PS4 graphics are terrible. And I'm like, yeah. No, that's not true at all. That's factually incorrect. What do you... Final Fantasy VII? Spider-Man? Persona 3 Reload? Any PlayStation exclusive game?
What are you smoking?
They just want a reason to hate Nintendo.
Yeah.
That's all it is. The hating Nintendo is cool until it comes and starts dominating the PlayStation. That's all I'm saying.
Anyway, that was our news slash guys, what's the plan here segment. Tune in next time to see whatever stuff is going on in the world. So before we get into our main topic, I think I gotta just take a second to thank the sponsor of today's episode. Now, I know what you're thinking. Oh my gosh, a sponsored episode? That's crazy. Don't worry, the sponsor is us. Now, if you don't know, this is an independent podcast that is run entirely by us, and we do everything here. We do all the editing, we do all the recording, we do everything. So if you like what we do here and you'd like to benefit the show, the best way that you can support us is by subscribing on YouTube or by buying merch with the link in the description. We have a ton of new merch out. We have mugs now, and the mug is super cool. It's a perfect size. We have new shirts out and pins and hats and stuff. So go over there, thenerdiestpodcast.com, where you can buy that special merch. And keep an eye out on the Instagram that you should follow at The Nerdiest Podcast, because we will have new merch drops very soon. But also, if that's not enough for you, if you really feel like you're just a super fan and you wanna help out the show and gain some exclusive content, you can become a Spotify subscriber. For a mere $3 a month, you could have access to our monthly Aftershow, which we talk about more stuff like this and give you a behind-the-scenes look at what's going on in the future of the podcast. So make sure you do that. We thank you so much for listening and supporting the show that way. Now, today, we're talking about movies that we would never watch again. Never watch again. Now, we will explain the multitude of reasons that we would never watch these movies again, but we both have picked 25 of the worst movies that we just would never watch again. Now,
which sounds like a lot.
Sounds like a lot.
Really not.
Sounds like a lot. But when you go through your Letterboxd, because honestly, I've used Letterboxd since 2019, which is 5 years worth of movies that I got to go through. Well, 4-ish years worth of movies that I got to go through.
I'm at 3 years because I started using in 2021.
So, that it's not that hard to find 25 movies that you're like, this is not a banger. I know bangers, and this is not a banger.
This ain't it.
So we're going to go in groups of 5. We've both set aside one movie at the end that we're like, heck no, never in a million years again.
They're in no particular order.
Except the last one.
Except for that one.
There's
that is like
one that we're like, big no. So, Mr. Nick Barrett, I figure we can just kind of go back and forth 5 at a time. Just give a little reason why, general thought. We don't need to give too long to each movie.
Because we do have 50 to get through.
50 to get through. So, take it away.
So, number 25, starting at the very bottom of my list. Honestly, it's not going to surprise you. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania.
Okay, praise God.
It's one of the worst Marvel movies, and if you don't think so, then that's and I thought about
problem.
Because movies we'd never watch again, I had to really think about why I would never watch it again, and not just make this I don't like this movie. Because there's a difference between I don't like this movie and I'd never watch it again. Spoiler alert. Here, I'll use a great example. A movie that is not on this list is Toy Story 4.
Right.
It's a movie I adamantly do not like in any way, shape, or form, but I'm not saying I would never watch it again. Like, if somebody turned it on, I wouldn't be mad. I would be like, sure, I'll sit through it. Like, I'm not going to throw a fit. But if somebody turned on Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, I'm walking out. I'm like, no. I'm not doing this right now. Because it's just not a good movie. It's not funny.
It's just lame.
It's not entertaining. It makes no sense. And it's just bad.
If I could chime in for just a moment, I also have Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania on my list. Yeah, garbage. Just not even entertainingly bad. Like, just frustratingly bad,
Yeah.
That's where I'm at.
I think
on that
if
one.
we double up on a movie, I think we can just talk about it.
Yeah, you can just bring
and
it
get
up.
it out of the way.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Next one is somebody I used to know. The Amazon Prime exclusive movie with Allison Brie and Danny Pudi and other people who are in the movie. I've already talked at length about why I don't like this movie. I don't like the premise of, like, Allison Brie being this washed up middle-aged woman who's like, yeah, I'm gonna go try to convince this guy, somebody I used to know, to cheat on his fiance and call off the wedding because I'm insecure? That makes no sense. And there's also a lot of unnecessary nudity that, like, is just kind of there. And, like, I was watching it and had to be like, oh.
You're like, oh.
Why is that? Like, there's a whole scene at the end where she goes to, like, a nudist camp, and there's just full frontal nudity, and I was like, I didn't ask for this. Yeah. I asked for a funny rom-com with Allison Brie, and this is not what I got. So yeah, I'd never watch that movie again. Hate it. Number 23. This one might be a little bit of a shock.
Oh.
Turning Red. I did not like this movie.
I hate that I didn't put that on my list. Oh,
I did not like this movie. It is one of my least favorite Pixar movies. I just don't think it's good. I don't like the messaging. The characters feel very weird and contradictory, and I think that the concept was there. I like the, turning into a panda based on your emotions. I think that's cool. But it also, the ending was really weird because it was oh, if this thing happens, there's no way to undo it. And then they undid it at the end, and there was no consequence for anything that happened. So...
Dang, I really wish I put that one on here. That makes me sad that I forgot that.
Yeah, this is not the only Disney movie on here.
Ooh, oh.
I will say that.
Okay.
Next up, this is one that would have got me crucified in film school. Ghostbusters. The original. I don't understand the appeal.
I've never seen it.
I watched it, and it was one of the most boring movies I've ever seen. I'll be completely honest.
Dang.
Which is also true for the next one I'm going to talk about, which is another one that is a controversial opinion.
Right.
But yeah, Ghostbusters, I understand why it's a classic.
Right.
I will say that. I get it, but to me, I don't feel like the characters went anywhere. The premise was cool, but it was kind of weird, not fleshed out enough.
Right.
And Bill Murray's character was just a raging sexist for no reason and had no character development, and nothing changed.
Yeah.
And he was the same at the end of the movie as he was at the beginning, and I didn't like that, and I felt like I wasted my time watching it. So,
okay.
I think it's worth watching once, but I would never watch it again.
Just to say that you've seen it.
Right. It's one of those classics that you should watch it because it's a classic. But if you just watch it once and then kind of discard it to the back of your memory.
That was a movie.
Sure. My last one before I shift it over to Jackson.
All right.
I've only gotten controversial takes about this one. Is the Studio Ghibli movie Spirited Away.
Oh,
which
that is a hot take.
One of the only Ghibli movies to be nominated at the Oscars for Best Animated Feature, I think. It's, in everyone's mind, it's a really good movie. I'm gonna be honest, I was bored the entire time. Because, and I didn't realize at the time, but that's just how I was going to feel about Studio Ghibli movies in general.
Right.
And I think it's overrated. I'm not saying it's okay, I'm not going to say it's a bad movie. I'm just going to say it was boring, in my opinion, because it was very slow, and it didn't make a ton of sense. And I just feel like it could have been better. The animation was really pretty. And if you watch it dubbed, the main girl is voiced by the same girl who voices Lilo in Lilo and Stitch.
That's fun.
But that was kind of funky to put. Yeah. And then at the end of the movie, everything's fine. And I was like, it's all right, I guess. Yeah. I'm not going to watch it again. Which is kind of how I feel about Studio Ghibli, except for Princess Mononoke. That's the one I would watch again.
Okay. I have not seen a Ghibli movie.
We'll watch Ghibli for the podcast at some point.
Right.
Because it is a big staple of anime, and I want to watch more Ghibli movies.
Right.
Oh, Castle in the Sky. I would also watch that one again.
Right.
But this is not movies we'd watch again.
I've heard that
we wouldn't watch
the
again.
Miyazaki movies are the best Ghibli movies.
I'm pretty sure most of the Ghibli movies are Miyazaki movies.
Most of them are his. He did like My Neighbor Totoro, or like he did The Boy and the Heron. I don't really remember.
He's very iconic.
Yes, he's an icon. So
Miyazaki is the Japanese equivalent of like Scorsese or Tarantino.
right. Okay.
So I get it.
Ready?
I am ready.
This is a callback. All right, you ready?
Oh.
Jurassic Park 3. I
Oh,
have
wow. Oh.
no intention of ever watching Jurassic Park 3 ever again.
That is a callback.
And
Dang.
I say that I chose this one specifically because Jurassic Park 2 is at least a little funny. It's like funny bad.
Yeah.
And at least you get like a good Jeff Goldblum performance in it. But Jurassic Park 3 is so boring and is such a stretch on like a Jurassic Park story. And it just was like, I'm kind of surprised that that's what they chose to intend to close the series. I'm like, you made one of the most iconic movies of all time, and then you made a crappy sequel, and then not only did you make another one, you tried to wrap up the whole story in the most inefficient way possible. And so it was just gross and boring and lame, and I didn't care. And I still don't, and I don't really intend to watch it again. Next one, this is a hot take. And I know this is a hot take because I know a lot of people that absolutely adore this movie. But I don't ever intend to watch Legally Blonde again.
I've never seen it. I've heard it's good. I've never seen it.
Like a chick flick staple. And I was forced to watch it my freshman year in college. And I remember thinking like, this is so lame. It's so boring. I don't know. I know I'm not the target audience. And I know that it's like, oh, a man could never understand the struggles of Legally Blonde, of being a woman in academia. And I'm like, yes, a lot of it is probably that, is I just can't relate. But I think just as a story, it felt really contrived. And like, I almost feel like a better version of Legally Blonde is Confessions of a Shopaholic. Like, that's an actually really solid movie that tackles a similar concept. But just like, I love chick flicks, but that's not a banger. Not my fave. Next is the Ben Platt original Theater Camp. I'm okay. I don't need to see it again. It was funny. It looks like it was intentionally shot at like ISO 200,000. Just it's like grainy as frick. Wow. And I think that was a budget thing. So it was like, I don't know, it was a creative decision. They had me. I was really into it until the end. And the end ruined the entire movie for me. And I was just like, there's a lot of gross things that happen in that movie that I'm not about. And it pushed the boundary of what I'm comfortable with in a movie. And I was like, I don't like that. Number 4 for me is one that I watched very recently, like within the last month. I watched the zombie romance Warm Bodies.
I thought you were going to say Zombies, like the
Zombies,
Disney, the
Disney
DCOM.
Channel.
Yeah, that has like 4
I've
movies.
never seen that movie. I've never seen any of those. So it's way past my time. But man, Warm Bodies, it was pitched to me as a spoof. And I would like to argue that it's not a spoof because spoofs are supposed to be funny. And
True.
This movie was not funny. It tried to be heartfelt, and it was fine. But it was really dumb because they literally solved the zombie apocalypse with the power of friendship. And it was really contrived and made no sense. And I was like, I understand that it's supposed to be like goofy and like a play on the zombie genre by making it like that. But they weren't intentionally goofy enough to where I couldn't tell if they were joking. And it made it really hard to, because I started taking it seriously because it took itself so seriously. Mm-hmm. And then when they tried to do something goofy, it just didn't land. So, I don't know. The movie's okay, but I don't intend to watch it again. I'm going to make sure I get the title right on this one because it's very important.
Uh-oh. I feel like I know it's...
Sword Art Online, the movie,
I
progressive
knew it!
aria of a starless night. Literally 2 stars on Letterboxd. Absolute hot garbage. Like garbage fire. Zombie review just dropped because I died of cringe. Okay. Go listen to our episode on Sword Art Online Starless Night.
I didn't
because
think you were going to bring
that
that
was
up.
the most.
I don't know why I didn't think it would be there. You were very clear about not watching it
That
again.
was the most heated we've ever gotten on a podcast. If you want to go back to listen to our episode on Starless Night, because it is so bad. All right.
We will forever disagree about that.
Hit me with
All right. I got 5 more. So we have the 2022 hit rom-com. Not really. It was not a hit. Or I wouldn't even consider it a com. It was just a rom. Marry Me with someone and Owen Wilson.
That's Jennifer Lopez.
I was so bored.
I really
that is
like
a
that
consistent
movie.
trend for all of these movies. I was bored. I didn't like it. It was too formulaic. Like that, you can do a formulaic rom-com movie, but it was too formulaic. Like I could predict the plot and how it was going to play out from minute 1.
Yeah.
Like you could tell, oh, Jennifer Lopez is going to get not married to this guy, and then she's going to fall in love with the simple city guy who's got a
simple
daughter,
dad.
and he's trying to find love after his wife died or something. And then they're going to have a weird break halfway through, and then she's going to realize, oh, I'm so in love with him. I need to go back to him. But he's doing something with his daughter because his daughter is the most important thing to him. And then they're going to get together, and they're going to kiss, and he's going to confess, and it's going to be... It was dumb.
I saw that movie in theaters.
I did too, and I regret it.
Liked it.
That was dumb. Another movie that I actually saw very close to seeing Marry Me is, I don't think you've seen this one, is Moonfall. Which, if you don't know the premise, the premise is the moon is falling towards the planet. Hence the title, Moonfall. So this group of people has to get to the moon to try to essentially unplug it and plug it back in to make it not fall. But it's like this catastrophic apocalyptic event that the moon is falling in, and like the weather is changing, the tides are crazy. Like the concept is really cool. The execution was just really stupid, though, because you find out halfway through, spoiler alert for Moonfall, skip ahead like 30 seconds if you don't want to be spoiled. You find out that the moon is actually essentially a transformer. It's a construct put there by aliens to keep tabs on humans, and then they built the moon exterior around it. And that's why it's falling, is because like the alien technology got undone or whatever. And it's just so stupid.
That's awful.
It's another one of those like Geostorm type movies where they're like, what if this thing happened? There's one coming out this year called the ISS, which is essentially what if the world ended, but there were people on the International Space Station? What would happen to them?
See, that
and they're all
low-key
like trying to
sounds
kill
fun.
each other.
Yeah.
And I'm
that
like,
one
why are
looks
we trying to kill
good.
each other? We could be the only humans left. Like, huh?
That one looks
So
good,
yeah,
though.
Moonfall, not very good. Next up, we have our next Marvel movie
Ooh.
on the list. There's a total of 1, 2, 3, 4 Marvel movies on this list.
Wow.
So the next Marvel movie is Black Widow.
Okay.
Never again. That movie was hot garbage. It just wasn't good. I don't know, man. It was Black Widow. I think it also, like, I like the idea of doing a story with Natasha. I just feel like it came way too late because she was dead by the time this movie came out. I think if Black Widow came out when it was chronologically set, I think it could have been a great movie. could have been
amazing.
a banger, could have been solid, because we wouldn't have known, oh, she's going to die.
Right.
And then it also felt like this weird artificial setup for Hawkeye, because we had to understand why Yelena was going after Hawkeye.
Right.
Which is still an unresolved plot thread, by the way. They're not buddy-buddy yet.
No.
Okay.
It's wacky.
So, it was cool.
That movie was
the
in
villain was
production
cool. But it also was like feminism.mp4, which was kind of lame because they reduced this really cool character in Natasha Romanoff down to feminism.mp4. So, next one is Lightyear.
hell.
Do I even need to say anything else?
No.
I despise this movie with a burning passion because it just took everything cool and great about the setup with Buzz and the Space Rangers and the evil Emperor Zurg and then said, oh, we have a really cool concept.
Goodbye.
Anyway, let's do something completely different. And if you're listening to the audio, I made a really big gesture to throw something behind me because I forgot that we have audio-only listeners. So they just took that and chucked it out the window, and instead of Zurg being a robot who's also Buzz's dad, he's just Buzz from the future.
It's like,
Which is a trope I'm
okay.
really getting tired of, is the bad guy is
Yeah.
just you from the future who's stifled because something happened and now he's angry. Like, okay, get a little more creative.
Yeah.
Also, I know there was a lot of controversy with Lightyear and with, like, putting that same-sex kiss in there. That was not, like, on the list of things I don't like about this movie, that is at the bottom. Like, that is the least of my concerns of why I don't
Right.
like this
movie
movie.
just sucks.
Going up, the movie just sucks. Like, yeah, that's a factor, but it's not the only factor. I just don't like it.
Right.
As a Toy Story fan, as a diehard Buzz Lightyear fan, I was really expecting this to be like Pixar's attempt at making a Star Wars movie. And it just wasn't that. It was the complete opposite of that. And they took a really cool setup with Zurg being this evil robot who's just evil, and then they set it up for a sequel, and we're never going to get that sequel, by the way.
No, we're not.
That sequel is never coming because that movie failed. So
That movie single-handedly put Disney in the red. Like, that's where it
that
started.
was it. That was the tipping point, was that one doing
Yeah.
bad. And then the last one, before I pass it back over, is The Black Phone, which is...
I forgot that you
so
watched The Black Phone.
I did too, till I was going through my Letterboxd. We watched it one night at small group because it was Halloween, and we wanted to watch a spooky movie, and I didn't get to pick. But I was there, and I watched it, and it wasn't that scary, but I just don't like horror movies, and I don't like the premise of, like, this kid is kidnapped, and, like, I don't know. I'm not a big horror fan in general.
Once you throw
And I'm
kids
like-
into it, I start to get out because it's a level of screwed up that I can't get behind. Like, there's
Right.
the entertainment factor for me drops when I'm like, this is a little too far. Like, I can't do
Exactly.
that.
And yeah, I just don't like horror movies, and I wouldn't watch it again. I don't have much more to say about it except for that. So
All right. Ready? I'm gonna hit you with some niche favorites, and then one of the hottest takes of the year. All right.
already it's only February.
According to Film Bros. Okay, you ready? This isn't the hot one. Next up, movie I'd never watch again, Bottle Rocket, which is Wes Anderson's first movie. And it was originally a short film, and it's very obviously a short film's worth of story in a 90-minute movie. And I struggled to stay awake, and the concept was really, really good. And I feel like it should have just stayed a short film because it was about, like, these brothers, and, like, Owen Wilson and Luke Wilson are in it, and, like, a ton of people that Wes Anderson still works with today. And it was like, oh my gosh, we want to do a life of crime. And it was like a comedy because they were, like, really suburban, and they were like, oh, we're going to turn to a life of crime. And it was, like, really funny. But then partway through, they go to this motel when they're on the run, and one of them falls in love with the housekeeper there, and they're legitimately there for, like, 45 minutes of the movie. Like, they're legitimately just in the hotel, like, fleshing out this side plot where he falls for the girl for most of the movie. And I kind of got the impression that that's what they added to make it a feature-length and it was like just kind of cut in the middle and made no sense to me.
Right.
So Wes Anderson, you know, it's good for a first movie, and you can see like the little like hints of what his future career would be. But I don't need to watch it again. It was just boring and didn't make a lot of sense to me. Moving on is a movie that we talked about on the podcast last year in one of my favorite episodes, My Big Fat Greek Wedding 3.
Oh, good point.
I've never seen a movie with so many noticeable continuity errors, and it makes me so insanely frustrated because this is a Hollywood movie that goes to the theaters, and a YouTuber could have edited it better than this, and the story was garbage, made no sense. It was a cash grab on the genre, and they wanted a third one, and I would die on the hill that the first one is the best one, the second one is really good, and the third one is unwatchable. I can't do it again.
Pretty accurate, honestly.
Moving on is another movie I watched last year, and I was insanely disappointed by, and it is the Eddie Murphy Christmas movie Candy Cane Lane, which went to Prime. Awful. Literally awful. It was so cringy, and the main plot that I'd like to touch on today is that he really wanted his son to go to college or something, but his son just wanted to, quote, wanted to make beats. And so the entire movie was his son with his big ol' headphones on, like hitting like this launch pad like he was the next like Pharrell, and was like so like hype about it. And there's a scene in the movie where he leaves a football game. They're watching a football or like a track meet or something, and he sneaks off to the band room in the school, and he thinks he's cooking the greatest beat of all time, and he's using all the instruments in the room, and he's like hitting the mallets and like playing the tuba and like doing all this stuff. The song was awful, and he thought he did something, and then he runs into a cow in that room. Okay, there is a cow in the band room, and
like an animal?
Yes, like a physical cow, and there is a person milking said cow in the room, and it is one of the maids milking from the 12 Days of Christmas while they're trying to retrieve these like special rings to save Christmas or whatever. And then she just starts squirting the milk everywhere, you know, straight from the cow. And I kid you not, the room literally starts to fill like floor up with milk. Is so gross, and then it's never touched on again. That they flooded the school with milk, and that's essentially almost every scene is like that. It's like an acid trip.
Sounds like one.
It was awful, and it was really really bad. It was an awful Christmas movie. It was just a bad movie. Next, a movie that I recently watched, and I know a lot of people love this movie, and I'm just not about it. Stuart Little. Now,
What?
we watched this movie like 2 weeks ago because we're writing a song called Stuart Little. I kid you not. And we were like, oh, that's so funny. Let's watch the movie and figure it out. Because I'm determined to write a song about every animated rodent. If you know, you know. And the movie was awful. It was so boring. And it made no sense. Imagine being an orphan.
Diss Stuart Little like that, okay?
No. When was the last time you watched Stuart Little?
Like 10 years ago.
Imagine being an orphan and this family comes to the orphanage. And you're like, oh, maybe I get a family now.
No.
And they're like, nah, we'd like the mouse.
We'd like the rat, please.
It was sweet. And it's obviously like a kid's movie, but like it made no sense And I was so excited because I haven't seen it in like 12 years. And I was so excited to be like, oh my gosh, this is such a classic. Like, everyone loves this movie. No, it was garbage. It was awful. We're still writing the song, but the movie sucks.
You know what is better than Stuart Little? Ralph
What?
and His Motorcycle, the book.
I have not read the book, actually. I know a lot. I know, like, it's like a staple. I never had it. So that's unfortunate. All right. You ready for the Film Bro hot take of the year? Movie I will never watch again. Oscar nominated Best Picture for the 2024 Oscars. Ready?
Barbie.
Never watch. No. Hold on. Whoa. Maestro. The Bradley Cooper movie about Howard Bernstein.
Oh, you did just watch this movie this week. I remember you telling me about that.
Literally, what the heck? It's literally just it's 2 hours long, and I feel like I learned nothing about Leonard Bernstein.
Says the guy who's about to put out a 2-hour podcast, by the way. Because there's no way this episode goes under 2 hours.
Yeah, that's okay. So 2 hours long, and I learned nothing about Howard Bernstein. I just learned about Bradley Cooper. It's just Bradley Cooper cheating on his wife with men for 2 hours, and then she knows about it and is more than okay with it, and then they just keep going like their little family is perfect, and then he like randomly goes and conducts stuff in between, and then she dies, spoiler alert, and then he goes and dances with a minor, and then the movie ends. And I'm like, dude, he's like he's like horrible in this movie. And then they're like, we made this movie to honor him, and I'm like, he did nothing but be like an adulterous creep for 2 hours, and they just made this movie to honor him. The only thing that's good in it is it's like it's a good performance from his wife. I forget her name, Lord forgive me, but she did incredible. Bradley Cooper did good, but he was trying really hard for that Oscar. You can tell he was trying a little too hard. Yeah, Maestro, garbage. Literally awful. It does not deserve an Oscar. That's all I'm going to say.
Wow.
Continue.
Okay. My next 5 we're going to start with the cult classic that used to terrify me as a child, and not because of the movie, because of a ride, is Alien. Ooh. I watched Alien in 2020.
Interesting.
2020, I think. Hold
That's
on, let me
classic.
see if I can pull up my review. When did I log it?
Dude, Alien is
October
a classic.
14th, 2022.
Shout out to the great movie ride, honestly.
Yeah, dude. Okay, I'm gonna be honest. Alien, the section of the ride at the great movie ride that was alien themed was scarier than the actual movie. And I don't know how that happened, because the ride was intended for families and children.
Right.
But the movie was not. Okay.
What was the
First of all,
disconnect?
I understand the concept of like the alien who snuck aboard this ship, but I think part of the problem is it's definitely very dated. And like the effects for the time, I can understand the effects for the time would have been sick. Like it would have been wild looking at that on screen. Now that I'm like been grown up in the era of CGI and stuff, nah.
Yeah.
I appreciate them doing it practically, but it just wasn't that scary. It was also very slow. And that I take an issue with. So it was okay. Now, the next one, I kind of thought you were going to say this one when you mentioned theater camp, is Dear Evan Hansen. No. I'm not a huge fan of the Broadway musical anyway, but this was just Ben Platt as a 40-year-old high schooler. And that's a problem, because he very clearly looks like an adult trying to play a high schooler, and everyone else looked like a high schooler, which made it kind of weird when he was trying to romance the girl. And I was like, this is weird.
This is creepy. Does no one else think this is weird?
It was a little creepy. Like, I understand the idea of wanting to cast Ben Platt as Evan Hansen because it's like his show.
It's like his role, right?
I get it. But also, you might be a little too old for that one. And the difference between a stage play and a Broadway musical is you're way down there on the stage. Nobody can tell how old you are. When the camera's right here in your face doing a close-up shot, we can tell how old you are.
Yeah.
This is not a, like, oh, well, Ben Platt doesn't look that old. No, he does.
No, he does.
So it just wasn't. And like they made changes that weren't as good as the original. So like, I don't know. It was okay. I'd never watch it again though.
I've never seen it. I don't really intend to.
Next is Uncharted with Tom Holland.
Really?
This was one of my least favorite movies of 2022. I would rather do anything than watch Uncharted because it was, I don't want to say it was boring, but it just wasn't good. And like, it wasn't enjoyable because it felt like Tom Holland doing an Indiana Jones movie when they could have gotten Tom Holland to do an actual Indiana Jones movie.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I don't like Mark Wahlberg in like anything really.
Yeah.
But like beside him just being Mark Wahlberg, I really didn't mind the Uncharted movie. I thought it was kind of fun.
No.
No. Okay.
Next one is the third Marvel movie.
Ooh.
And is it? Hold on. What is the title? Okay, it's Eternals. I would rather stick knives in my eyes than watch Eternals ever again.
Okay.
It was.
I saw that in theaters too.
Me too. And
It's
when
bad.
you say My Big Fat Greek Wedding had the most continuity errors you've ever seen, that was me with Eternals. I was sitting watching Eternals with one of my friends, and we were laughing because we were pointing out all of the continuity errors, the editing mistakes, the just bad editing, because we're both like film students. So we're sitting here like looking at this multi-million-dollar movie from a multi-billion-dollar company from a long-running franchise put out one of the worst movies of all time.
Yeah.
It also leaves a lot of open threads that have never been connected.
Right.
Like there's a celestial with its head sticking out in Antarctica, and it's got like half a hand coming up out of the ocean. Like nobody wants to talk about that.
No one wants to touch on it. You know, it's
not important.
They're just really like Marvel had a really bad habit of like ending the world. There was a period where like every movie they did, they would end the world in a different way, but none of them were connected. And so you were like, how is this in the same timeline? I'm so confused.
And then, like, that one celestial comes down and takes the Eternals out. And, like, in a rap, like, dude, that was like a Rapture level event.
And then Harry Styles is there.
Like, imagine being a normal person and you're just standing in the park and then God appears in the sky and these people disappear.
Yeah.
I would be freaking out.
Right.
I'd be like, what?
What
was that?
Yeah, no, that movie
because he
sucks.
was visible to everyone. So it was like, it was stupid. And I didn't, no. Okay, next one is a movie I haven't seen in a long time. And I'm okay with that. Is The Good Dinosaur.
Oh, yeah, that movie's really, really bad.
It's just hot garbage. It's just The Lion King, but with dinosaurs.
Yeah.
So it's really just Shakespeare with dinosaurs. And it's not that great. And I don't even think Pixar likes this movie because they don't like to talk about it.
When you say Shakespeare with dinosaurs, that sounds awesome. This movie is not awesome in any way. It's like
this movie is not awesome in any way, shape, or form.
A rare Pixar L.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Nowadays, it's not as rare.
Back in the day, that was a big deal.
Back in the day, Pixar L was crazy.
Back in my day.
Because this also, I'm pretty sure this movie, oh no, this was 2015. I was going to say, this movie followed Cars 2.
No, it was a little later than that.
No.
Okay. Ready? Ready for this one?
I am.
Ready? Tom Hardy's Venom.
Okay, so that is also on my list, but it's in like the honorable mentions section. I would absolutely agree.
there's no reason to watch it. There's no redeeming factor of like, this is why you should watch Venom. It's literally just super bad superhero movie.mp4. Like there's no redeeming uniqueness or anything about it. And I know that Sony really wants to do like this whole universe, but I'm like, yes, you're going to connect Venom and Morbius. Everyone loves both of those movies.
Venom was the original Morbius. Thank you very much.
No, it was. Yeah.
We're also going to be adding Madam Web to that Infinity Gauntlet pretty soon.
Do you see that Madam Web is predicted to have an opening weekend $10 million lower than Morbius?
Oh,
which
that's
is like
so sad.
It's predicted to be lower than The Flash.
Which, okay,
like,
here's the thing though, is those two movies had memes going for them. Madam Web has none of that like meme clout. Like people went to see Morbius because it got memed so much.
Right.
People went to see The Flash because it got memed. Madam Web doesn't have that, so it will actually be a flop.
No. Yeah. So I got Venom, and then we got a Nick Cage movie that I thought was gonna be better. I'm never gonna watch Renfield again. That's one where he played Dracula. And I'll be honest, Renfield was really, really good for the first 30 minutes and the last 20 minutes. But then in the middle, it was just Awkwafina giving this guy life advice, and it was just like really like just dragged in the middle. And then the end, there's like a dope fight that I was like, yo, that's awesome. But then it was like, yeah, I don't need to see it again. Next is National Lampoon's Family Vacation. Not the Christmas Vacation, the Family Vacation. And I watched this one because I love National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. I love that movie. How bad can the Family Vacation be? Awful. 10 times more inappropriate than the Christmas Vacation. So bad. The only redeeming factor about it is John Candy at the end being the theme park security guard. And there's a really funny scene where the whole point of the movie is they're trying to get to Wally World, which is like a Disney World ripoff. And that's their whole point of the movie. And antics and shenanigans happen in there. And like they accidentally kill someone, and then they just kind of like glaze over it, or like someone dies and then they like throw her body in the Grand Canyon or something. It makes no sense. The movie is like weirdly dark out of nowhere. Well, the one time that this is actually funny is they get to Wally World and it's closed for refurbishment. And so this whole time they get there and it's closed. So he very calmly drives to a sporting store. And then you see him go in there and he comes out, and then they go back. And you're like, what was that about? And then security guard is like, hey, we're closed right now. And he goes, oh, okay. And then he pulls out a gun and he says, no, I think you're open. And then the end of the movie is them going on rides with the security guard who is at gunpoint. And it's like so weirdly dark and violent out of nowhere. And it was a miss. And it was like weird, wildly inappropriate and just gross for no reason. Speaking of gross for no reason, this is a Film Bro A24 classic that I was wildly traumatized by, and that is The Lobster. Now, The Lobster is a very wacky movie, as most A24 movies are, about a man who is single, and they live in a world where if you are not married by the age of 35, you go to a hotel where you have 1 month to find a partner with all these other single people. And if you do not find a partner within that month, you get turned into the animal of your choosing. Wacky premise, great idea, really cool, like dark comedy idea for that. Well, they immediately abandoned that premise 30 minutes in, and then had them just kind of all hang out in the woods for the rest of the movie, and nothing really happened. And then they like cut out this chick's eyeballs, and it like wasn't my fave. I had to watch 3 YouTube videos to understand the ending, and even by then I was like, that wasn't good. I did not enjoy that. Anyway, on a completely different note, my last one for this row is the live action Little Mermaid.
I knew it was gonna be here.
The Little Mermaid, classic, super bright and colorful, amazing songs. There is no joy in the new live action Little Mermaid. It is a gray color scheme. The music has no fun. They gave Aquafina a Lin-Manuel Miranda-esque rap song as a seagull. And, Lin-Manuel Miranda has lived long enough to become the villain. And I don't really intend to watch that one again, because if I wanted to watch The Little Mermaid, I'd watch the good one. That's not about that.
That checks out. That, yeah. That checks out. I've never seen it, and I'm probably better off for it. All right.
Yeah.
Kicking off the last 10. Well, last, 10 through 6, but you know what I mean. Number 10. One of probably the longest and most boring movies I've ever seen that I thought was actually going to be interesting.
Oh.
The Green Knight.
I remember when you saw this.
Was boring. How do you make a medieval fantasy movie about one of King Arthur's knights boring? What do you mean? This is the worst medieval fantasy movie I've ever seen in my entire life.
Is this an A24 movie?
It is an A24 movie.
Yeah. So
it
it's
was
art.
boring.
It's like art.
It was not art. It was dark, dude. I couldn't see what was on the screen 95% of the time. Hold on. Let me see if I can find my Letterboxd review and read it.
Art.
Because I reviewed it. The Green Knight was an okay film. I found it to be quite dark, as I couldn't hardly see the characters on screen for 90% of the movie. It was also kind of boring, and there was not as much action as advertised in the trailers. Oh yeah, that's right. They advertised it as an action fantasy movie, and then you get in there and the action happens in like the middle of the movie once, and that's it. It was very much like Dune, where Dune kept advertising that one clip of Timothée Chalamet and Zendaya, and it was at the beginning of the movie and then never anywhere else.
Yeah.
And I was so mad getting to the end of that movie. I was like, how? It also was very confusing and made no sense. There was also this scene that made me viscerally uncomfortable. It's so bad, I can't even talk about it on the podcast. It's a very adult scene that made me viscerally uncomfortable in the theater. And if you've seen the movie, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It was just gross and unnecessary, and no.
Then you're in the theater and you're like,
I don't want to be here.
I can't look at my Pinterest boards now.
Okay. So, next one is also a movie I watched in 2021, and it's Joker with Joaquin Phoenix.
Wow, that's a hot take.
Okay, so here's the thing, though. When I say never watch again, I don't think it's a bad movie. I think it's actually a phenomenal movie. I think it's a very well shot, very well directed, well written. You can really see his slow descent into madness and becoming the Joker. And like that scene where he's on the show and is like, "Are you blah, blah, blah?" And he's like, "Yes, and I'm tired of pretending it's not." Like that whole scene was shot very well, no pun intended. But my thing with the Joker, or I'm sorry, not the Joker. The thing with Joker is it's a very intense movie. I didn't think that joke was that funny.
Sorry. It was shot really well.
I didn't think that was that funny.
I'm sorry. I thought that was so funny.
It was just, it's a very intense movie, and it's a very gore-heavy movie, and I understand that's why. Like, I understand why they did it. But it's, like, mentally a taxing movie to watch. And, like, after I watched it, I had to sit back and watch, like, anything else to really calm myself down.
Yeah.
Can you stall for, like, 30 seconds real quick?
Yeah. So I'm stalling for 30 seconds, and I'd just like to say that I've never seen the Joker because, or not the Joker, but I am really, really excited because they're doing a Joker sequel, and they said it's a musical with Lady Gaga, and I'm low-key like, you know what? Maybe it's time for me to watch Joker, because I really need to know how they make a Joker musical movie with Lady Gaga. Anyway, I see you've grabbed your film journal.
Yes, that I haven't put an entry in like 3 years. I'm trying to find my entry for Joker. Because I would have written about
Letterboxd.
it. No. It's here somewhere. There it is. I found it. Okay. So here it is. I physically wrote it out because I have this journal that a friend got me. I gave it 4.5 stars. Wow. Yeah. I watched this movie with me, myself, and I, where at home. My favorite part was the scene when Joker went on the Murray Franklin show. The intensity of it all had me hooked from start to finish, and the fact that it was the culmination of the whole movie's message. I thought / the critics thought. Critics loved it. I liked it. The creepy music, direction, and story were all really well done. Joker's slow mental deterioration is shown very well. There were also quite a few moments where I jumped from shock. I did not write anything I didn't like about it. But the premise being, I like it as a movie, but I would never watch it again because it's so mentally intense.
Right.
It's
very
the point.
It's like you respect it.
Yes.
And it's very good, but it's just too much to push yourself through again.
When did I watch this next one? Because I can totally find... Okay, so this one is actually a hot take that I think the Film Bros are going to be mad about. And that's okay, because I exist to make the Film Bros cry. Because my favorite movies are animated Japanese films that technically don't count in the eyes of the Film Bros. Anyway, this one is the only movie I've seen about this from this director. And it really put a bad taste in my mouth for the rest of his movies, because if they're all like this, then I'm not going to like any of them. Okay. And that is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. No. I don't like this movie. I gave it 1.5 stars.
Tarantino movie.
Yeah, my only Tarantino film. I know he's made good movies. Before you jump on my back, I know he's made good movies. I just haven't watched them. But this wasn't it. I thought it was going to be an interesting like dive into Hollywood and the entertainment industry. No. Little did I know I was going to have to wait 2 more years to watch the hit anime Oshinoko to actually get an interesting dive into the entertainment industry. Here's my review I wrote in this book. Critics liked it. I didn't. The movie felt long and disjointed. I kept getting lost and confused, which made it hard to enjoy the film. I didn't see any character progression either. They all seemed bland. Oh, and too much swearing. Which is honestly kind of based. It was also
LOL.
like I fell asleep halfway through because I was so bored. It's like a 3-hour movie.
Yeah.
Like, it's 162 minutes. It's almost a 3-hour movie. I was bored by hour 1.
Dang.
So yeah, I don't understand the hype. I like the actors. Like, I like DiCaprio and Brad Pitt, Margot Robbie. Like, all great actors. I just don't think the movie was very good. Next up is one I think we can both agree on. And it's The Lion King 2019, the live action
Praise God
remake. I don't like this movie
for put that on my list.
Obvious reasons. It's just bad. Like, it's a shot-for-shot remake of the original. If I wanted to watch The Lion King, kind of like Jackson said with The Little Mermaid, I would go watch the original because it's got everything that the live action has, but so much better. I don't even have anything else to say. I don't even want to give it the time of day. I'm so frustrated with this movie because it's the highest grossing animated film of all time. It's not an animated movie, so shut up.
Yeah.
Thank you. I have one more.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
This one is actually pretty recent.
Okay.
And it wasn't even like... It was enjoyable to watch. I'd never watch it again. It's Adam Sandler's 8 Crazy Nights. I watched it off of the meme where he's like making out with his car and everyone is like, Transformers fans be like. And I was like, oh, okay, let me watch it for the meme. And that was in the first 5 minutes, but I was already like too committed. I was like, I'll watch the whole thing. It was kind of funny, but then it turned into an Adam Sandler movie and it wasn't funny anymore because Adam Sandler plays himself as a drunkard going after a middle-aged white woman who has a kid and making very inappropriate advances. But again, that's just every Adam Sandler movie ever.
Every Adam Sandler movie.
So it wasn't that great. I would never
Dang.
watch it again. Not even for the meme. Like, now that I've seen it, I'm like, nah, I'm good.
Right.
I don't
You're
need to
like,
watch
I'm
this
okay.
again. I'm good.
In a similar vein, I have Lyle Lyle Crocodile, which is the Shawn Mendes hit movie. Listen, it wasn't boring. It was funny bad. At least it was entertainingly bad. But it was like Shawn Mendes giving the most generic performance of a lifetime. And I was like, dude, Shawn Mendes is low-key a really good singer. Like, why is he so bad in this movie?
Why is he in this movie?
Why is he in this movie? He's not an actor. I don't know. There is one song in there called Carried Away that is actually really good. And then the rest of it is just this random dude like training this crocodile to be, you're going to be a movie star, kid. And it's like really weird and creepy. And I don't like it. And like the crocodile teaches them how to like love each other. And it's like this weird like family dynamic that it's bizarre. I will never watch it again. Next up, I feel like this is a hot take based on who I've talked to and all this stuff. But this is a Heath Ledger classic that I don't intend to watch again. And that is A Knight's Tale. You thought I was going to say Batman.
I did. But then I
Got
remembered
him.
you've never seen Batman.
I've never seen the Batman. So, A Knight's Tale is Heath Ledger being a medieval boy, and they need to do like jousting or something to like save the city or I don't know. It similar to what you said about the Green Knight. I was like, how did you make medieval fantasy action adventure comedy boring? And it's like, how? I feel like they just kind of hang out in the same town like the whole time. And then Paul Bettany, his entire butt is in the movie. Like half of the runtime is just Paul Bettany's entire backside, like just completely naked. And I just don't need to see that. And I'm not about that lifestyle. So A Knight's Tale, I know so many people just love it, and I thought it was so boring, and I just couldn't get invested. Next up is kind of a niche hit that I don't really see a lot of people talk about. It is Peter Dinklage's Cyrano, which is a take on what I believe is a Shakespeare play, but I'm not set on that. It was fine. The music had potential to be so good, and I love musical movies. I really I'm a big musical movie fan, and this is just not it. This was not it, guys. I'm no, just no. I'm not about that. The music was really, really, really bad, and just the story didn't make sense, and the performances were good, but it was like, I feel like if you do like a Renaissance movie or like a time period movie, you are instantly fighting for more attention because it's something unfamiliar. And so like these Renaissance, like medieval movies and stuff like that, like they're a lot harder to pull off and be interesting because there's just generally not as much can happen because there's just less things that we are familiar with in our everyday lives. So that's fine. So that was, yes, that's 3. So next up, I'm going to say it. Glass Onion.
Oh, that one
Knives
was
Out
so
story.
close to making my list.
Yeah. I watched it when it came out because I'm a big Knives Out fan. I love Knives Out. I think that's a great movie. And then they announced they're doing a sequel, and I was like, dude, you really need a sequel? But man, it's okay. It's like a fun like mystery, I guess, but it watches like a Netflix original movie in a bad way. And there's the beginning part where they're like, they have to like touch on COVID for some reason, and they're like, oh, we need to, take these boosters so that we don't get COVID, so we don't have to wear our masks. And I was like, no one was gonna complain that, like, how are they on this island?
It's a fictional movie, bro.
How are they on this island when there's COVID? Why aren't they wearing their masks?
You didn't like him playing Among Us in the bathtub?
He was doing. That was the thing. It's such like it's already outdated itself. Like, for real. Like, that was
Among Us in the bathtub.
Among Us in the bathtub. The mystery was fine, I guess. It just, Knives Out is a movie that I will rewatch. Glass Onion is not, because it's already dated itself and it's just not near as memorable. Next to my last one for this category is, in fact, This Is the End, which is a Seth Rogen, Jonah Hill movie, and it has an all-star cast. It's maybe the most celebrities I've ever seen in a movie. And here's the thing. It's hilarious. It is so funny. And the whole point is that all these celebrities go to a big party at James Franco's house, and they do drugs and they party and hang out, and Michael Cera and Rihanna are there, and Craig Robinson is there playing the piano. So funny. But then the apocalypse happens, and what actually happens in the movie, they figure this out, is they're in the middle of the book of Revelation. And so it literally plays out based on the book of Revelation in the movie.
What?
Yes. So all these celebrities are playing themselves at this big Hollywood party when the end of the world is happening. And the funniest part of the whole movie is at the beginning, Michael Cera is like, okay, guys, who took my phone? Like, this isn't funny anymore, while like the world is ending. And then he just gets impaled by a light post. And it's like so viscerally violent, and it's so funny. And the whole movie is them like barricading themselves in the house, and like Emma Watson is like shows up out of nowhere and is like wants to stay with them, and like it's actually like really funny. And like Jonah Hill and like Seth Rogen are like talking about their friendship and all this, but then in the last like 30 minutes of the movie, it gets like insanely demonic out of nowhere. And like they do all this like possession stuff and like all this, and that's one of my movie like lines in the sand, is I don't do demon movies because it's too real and it's not something you can joke about. Like it's not funny. It's too real. And so when they went that far, that's when I was like, okay, this is a really R-rated movie, just from like language and like suggestive references. Like the language in it is awful, and it was really funny up until that point, and it just went too far for me. So there you go.
I just watched Michael Cera get impaled by a...
Isn't it so funny?
It is kind of funny. It's kind of wild too. Like it's just happens. Wild. Like he just... Boop.
Yeah. It's a movie that I like to talk to people about it, because they're like, you've seen that? That movie's awful. And I'm like, yeah, I know.
Oh, man. All right. Do you want to do honorable mentions now?
Do it right before our like number one never watch agains. Yeah.
Number 5, I'm not going to spend an exhaustive time on this one because I've already I did a whole shebang on why I don't like this movie, and it's Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny.
Oh my gosh.
I would never watch this movie again. I wish I never watched it in the first place. Garbage. It's the worst Indiana Jones movie. Don't you dare try to tell me that it's better than Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. That is false. And if you think it is, it's because you're blinded by your little nostalgia glasses, idiot. Dang. Anyway.
Okay.
Number 4 is the Super Mario Brothers movie.
Oh,
But the 1993 one, not the new one. The new one is fantastic. And actually, well, I'm not going to say that because it could be a topic for a future episode. So I don't want to spoil it. But the new one is fantastic. The old one, however, makes no sense. I got to find my Letterboxd review because some of them are like just kind of. So my Letterboxd review is a film student really loved Mario and Blade Runner and thought, yeah, these two can work together.
Not the Blade Runner crossover.
And that was it. It was just
Dang.
weird. Like, I can't even say the premise was good. It wasn't a Mario movie. It was a movie with this guy named Mario and this guy named Luigi. And there were other people there.
Nice.
But then what's really interesting is if you watch the new one, there are a lot of things that they took over from the old one.
Yeah.
Like the fact that Mario and Luigi are plumbers in Brooklyn, which I know isn't necessarily taken from the movie. It's taken from the game lore. Anyway, there's that. The fact that they find the pipe underground to go to the Mushroom Kingdom, and then they have to stop Bowser, but then at the end, they somehow magically end up back in Brooklyn, and there's the big showdown in Brooklyn, and then they go back to the Mushroom Kingdom to make it better. The new one is the same movie, but just better.
Right. And
Because it's
animated.
actually a Mario movie, and it's animated like it should have been. But the old one, no thank you. I'm good. Third one. And remember, like I said at the beginning, number 2 will shock you. Number 3, though, is the hit movie that I watched on HBO Max, Dragon Ball Evolution, which is the live-action Dragon Ball movie. is not a Dragon Ball movie. It's, at best, a very high-quality DCOM that uses the Dragon Ball names and the power set. And that's about it.
Dang,
My Letterboxd review
dang.
is simply one sentence, and it is Goku is white for some reason. Because they turned Goku from like this super cool martial arts expert
Right.
who's a Saiyan from a different planet into just the most basic white kid from suburban California. And that's the movie.
That's nice.
And that's it.
That's nice.
Okay. So, number 2. Talk about a throwback.
Oh gosh, number 2 will shock you.
Talk about a throwback
I'm so scared.
to one of, if not, our most popular episodes ever.
Oh, I know what this is.
Actually, it's number 2.
Second most popular. episode of
Ironically
all time.
enough.
Number 2 will shock you.
Spider-Man No Way Home.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I don't like that movie at all. I think it's a bad. It's a good Spider-Man movie, and it's really well made. This one kind of falls into the same category as like Joker, where I can acknowledge that it's well shot, well edited, well directed.
Right.
I don't think the writing is there. That's one of my big issues with it. Is
Yeah.
it doesn't feel like a Tom Holland Spider-Man movie. It feels like just a spider. It feels closer to Across and Into the Spider-Verse than an
Right.
actual Tom Holland movie, and that was disappointing.
Because we
instead
wanted
of
that movie to wrap him
doing-
up.
Right. Instead of doing something original and giving him original villains and wrapping everything up, it was cracking the lid on the multiverse with Doctor Strange and then bringing in Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire
Because
and all of the villains from those movies, and Tom was like, yeah, I'm going to fix them. I
Yeah.
can fix them. And then I don't know. It was...
it's
I
like
just don't
it's
like
like
it.
watching a fan fiction.
Honest to God,
Yeah.
it kinda is. What is my Letterboxd review? I really wanted to enjoy this movie more than I did, but after leaving the theater, I felt like there was something missing, and I felt vaguely unsatisfied. I don't know what exactly it was, but this movie just didn't do it as much as I thought it would for me. Maybe that's because of the rampant theorizing on the internet that had just made me burned out, or maybe the movie just didn't go the way I thought it should have gone. Either way, it was still a really good film, and I'd watch it again. That is false.
I would not watch
Because
it
I
again.
did watch it again, and nothing changed.
Yeah.
I watched
You're
it
like,
again
this
2
still
weeks
sucks.
later, and nothing changed. And I was like, you know
Dang.
what?
Okay.
Yeah.
What's next?
So do you want me to burn through my honorable mentions real quick, or are you gonna catch up?
Let me
and then
catch
do
up
honorable
because I have
mentions.
3 more
Okay.
before. Up next, right here, ready? I saw this movie in the AMC at Disney Springs, and I fell asleep. Death on the Nile is not good. Murder on the Orient Express, phenomenal, absolutely incredible. Even A Haunting in Venice, I thought was quite good. I really enjoyed that movie. Death on the Nile is just how many like B tier actors can we throw on a boat and then kill all of them?
Yep.
At the same time, and then it's
Every single one.
My review of Death on the Nile has always been too much death, not enough Nile. And I've always said that. And I fell asleep because the AMC at Disney Springs has heated, like, lower back seats. And man, when you've been at Disney all week and your feet are exhausted, you're so, like, just sleepy. Man, you're watching a bad movie and that lower back heater hits and you're like, this is a dine-in theater too, consider that. You get your burger. Oh, so freaking good, man. Next up is another movie I saw in theaters and fell asleep. Black Panther Wakanda Forever.
Oh, I remember we made a clip about this one and people were not happy.
I remember
about
they
what you
were
had to
not
say.
pleased about this. Here's the thing. I think it's a great idea to make a tribute movie, especially because of Chadwick Boseman and like all that he did and like Black Panther. I love the idea of doing a tribute movie, but the fact that they did a 3-hour tribute movie that didn't do anything new or push anything for any characters of that story was just not a good move. It was legitimately 3 hours long. And it didn't do anything. I have no intention of watching it again because it's really long and it's really sad and there's almost no redemption in it. And it's just, I can't do it. Okay. Number 2 probably won't shock you.
No.
Ready for another throwback. Okay. Ready? Jurassic World Dominion.
I knew it was on here somewhere. I was wondering where it was at.
Yes, right here. Literally, I think it's legitimately one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
That's
legitimately. I think it's so messy, and it falls into the No Way Home trap of what if instead of caring about the characters that we've built up, we brought in all the old characters and tried to wrap them up too. You know how we've already done 3 movies to wrap them up?
Yeah.
Let's just do it again because we need a nostalgia pull. And then there was like, they did the stupid freaking like locust thing.
In a movie about
the
dinosaurs, the
story-
dinosaurs were not an important part of it at all.
No, exactly. Excuse me, I think my camera died. Because this episode went longer than we thought.
Mine's probably close.
So, yeah, if you'd like to burn through your honorable mentions while I swap out this battery, like it's a clip in a John Wick movie.
Dude, that's how I feel when I
guest.
change out my camera battery, especially when it's on the tripod and I just like open it, it falls out and you hear it like clunk against the desk and you slide the new one in, you bada bing, bada boom.
Bada bing,
Bam.
bada boom.
We got him. Look at that. That was an easy fix.
See?
We didn't even have to.
There you go.
It's all good. All right. So my honorable mentions, I'll burn through them real quick. The people I hate at the wedding, we hate at the wedding, another Amazon exclusive. I really need Amazon to stop casting really attractive people in really bad movies.
That's kind of their
Because
shtick.
Alison Brie, really attractive, terrible movie. The people we hate at the wedding, Kristen Bell, really attractive, terrible movie. So stop casting these really attractive people in really terrible rom-coms. I'm also pretty sure Ben Platt was in this movie. He was. He played Kristen Bell's gay brother. Shocking no one. Terrible movie. Next up, Mary Poppins Returns. I don't even want to talk about it.
Really?
It's a terrible movie.
Wow.
If you want to watch Mary Poppins, watch the original.
Okay.
The next 2 are kind of, I don't want to say they're on here out of spite, but the reason I watched them does not help the fact that I don't want to ever watch them again.
Okay.
Because I was basically held at gunpoint and told to watch them.
Okay.
The second one you'll be very familiar with. The first one is Into the Woods. It was okay. If you want to watch Into the Woods, I
It's
feel like
bad.
you don't need to watch the movie.
No.
It was okay. The next one is Come From Away. I was basically at gunpoint watching this movie, guys. Like, if I didn't watch it, I probably would die.
Yeah.
There's my battery light, and I'll change it while Jackson is doing his honorable mentions. So Come From Away, not very good. I didn't really enjoy it. I also have Venom and Venom 2 because, and then I also have. Let's see if you remember this one, the hit Disney movie Planes and Planes Fire and Rescue. You know, the movies that copied Cars but with planes.
That's good.
Have you seen that breakdown of like Planes is just Cars but with planes?
Yes.
Because you have the cocky main character, the hillbilly sidekick, the green bad guy, the mentor who's reluctant to help. Like, it's Cars beat for beat but with planes. And it's really dumb. And then my last honorable mention is another rom-com with another attractive person as the lead, but it's so bad. And it's a Holiday. Came out in 2020 on Netflix. And the premise is like, oh, what if I was in a casual relationship with this guy, but only on holidays, so we weren't single, and then we fall in love and whatever. So yeah, that's my honorable mentions. Jackson, take it away while I fix this.
You go fix that. Fun fact, I do not have honorable mentions. And you know why I don't have honorable mentions? Because I love movies too much. And you know what? I think that's my cross to bear, because I was looking through my Letterboxd list and I was like, what's a movie I'd never watch again? And I was looking through it and I was like, I mean, The Little Mermaid is bad, but if someone turned it on, I wouldn't be like pissed. Or if like, you know, someone was like, let's watch Glass Onion, I'd be like, I mean, I don't really want to, but like, we could, I guess. I don't know. So it's kind of like, I'm not gonna say I struggled to fill this list, but like, all of the movies on this list are movies that I just would really prefer never to see again. And it's like, I'm gonna move on with my life instead of trying to give this one another chance, because I don't think it deserves it. So yeah,
that's fair.
Those are my non-existent honorable mentions. My number one pick of a movie, this is my like line in the sand, I will never watch this again. And I watched it because it's so popular. So many people love this movie. It's a big meme. They talk about it all the time. A lot of people revere it like it's incredible cinema and like praise the acting and the cinematography and all of this. Do you have any guesses?
The Bee Movie?
No one is praising the cinematography of the Bee Movie. I don't know what you think.
I don't know. You said it was a meme, and that was the first place my mind went to.
So I watched
Morbius?
No.
I got nothing.
So I watched this movie because it was so big, and everyone was like, I talked to a lot of really like hip film people that were like, it's so good. And that's
mistake number one.
Yeah. That is none other than Christian Bale's classic American Psycho, which
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
So true.
I think is the most traumatizing movie I've ever seen. I watched it as a freshman in college with like all the boys. And I was like, I'm trying to think of how to appropriately talk about this movie on a family-friendly show, because it is the most depraved movie I've ever seen in my life, and it's literally just Christian Bale running around naked, killing people with chainsaws the entire time. That's the entire movie. I'm dead serious. Literally, there is no redemptive arc at all in anyone. He just, from the beginning, is a horrible person that just kills people, and he's like schizophrenic and has a multi-personality disorder. And there's some funny memes from the movie. I agree about that. But it's the most godless piece of trash I've ever like watched. It's so depraved. And it's one of those movies that like you turn it on and you're like, you end up looking at your phone the whole time, not because it's boring, but because it's so inappropriate that you're just like, what am I supposed to be looking at? Like there's not even a story. There's not even a story. It's just a couple hours of him killing people and like chasing them around. And it's not even scary. Like his performance is good, but it's also like he just kind of acts crazy for a couple hours. Like, I don't know. He does it really well, but I'm like, there's nothing to enjoy in that movie. It's so legitimately just disgusting. And so it's like, that's my number one. Just, I will never watch this again. Like this, like just no line in the sand. This, like, if someone tries to turn it on, I'm leaving. Like, it's awful, and it's just so highly revered, and I don't get it at all.
That's totally
That's
fair.
my
I've
number
never
one.
seen it, but now I know that I don't need to.
You
watch
don't need
it.
to. I'm really excited to hear yours because I have no.
You know what mine is. You know.
Am I sad? Am I gonna be really
No.
sad?
No, because I don't think you've ever seen this movie.
Oh.
But think about a movie that I hate with more passion. There is no movie I hate more than
I know exactly.
this movie.
I know exactly what it is now that you've said that.
Do you want to guess what it is?
Is it The Rise of Skywalker?
No.
Oh.
Because I would watch The Rise of Skywalker before I would watch this movie again.
Dang.
I thought about it. The Rise of Skywalker was almost on this list entirely. And then I thought, I don't want to put a Star Wars movie on here because I would rewatch it. I may not like it, but I would rewatch
I'm
it.
a little stuck.
This movie.
Is it La La Land?
No.
Okay.
It's not La La Land. So you keep thinking. I'll start
Okay.
building up. I don't think anybody praises this movie for its cinematography or writing or direction. I actually don't think anybody praises this movie ever because it has a 2.6 on Letterboxd. And I'd really love to go through and read a 5-star review of this movie.
Okay.
Because I want to know what they must be the most forgiving people on the planet, because I don't know how you watch this movie and give it a 5-star in any way, shape, or form. I, honest to God, used to love this movie as a kid. I rented it from Blockbuster, oh, what a boomer moment, and kept it consistently checked out because I was like, yo, this is a sequel to one of my favorite movies? And I really love it. And then as I got older, I tried to watch it again.
A sequel.
And I didn't make it 15 minutes in the movie, and I turned it off. Shockingly enough, though, what I thought would be fun was to go through the entire movie and do like a TikTok React series.
I know what
And
movie this is.
It kind of popped off a little bit. And I might do it again in the future because I hate this movie so much.
Oh my
And
gosh, I know exactly what this is now.
It's one of my favorite clips I pulled out from the podcast, and I'll use this to say the name of the movie because Jackson knows what it is now. Last year I said I would rather eat rocks than watch The Little Mermaid 2 ever again. I hate this movie so much.
I forgot
Because
about
it's
this.
not it shouldn't have even been made.
I forgot about this.
If you've never seen it, the premise of The Little Mermaid 2 is essentially you liked The Little Mermaid, let's do it vice versa. Let's do it in reverse. So now there's an evil sea witch who wants to take get the trident thing from a relative of the king. So we're gonna manipulate and play off of her adventurous and curious personality of something she's told she cannot do. But the little interesting thing here is that Ursula's sister, I don't even remember her name because I hate this movie so much, shows up at like the christening of Ariel's kid and is like, I'm gonna kill her. and then gets banished to Antarctica, which isn't a real place. And then is like, well, I'm going to come back. And then they're like, but the ocean is dangerous. So we're going to build a wall around the freaking palace that is on the coast. What? So then their daughter Melody grows up and she like loves the ocean because of course she does. And Ariel's like, you can't go there. The ocean is bad. But nobody explains to her why the ocean is bad. It's almost like your kid would have a better understanding for why they shouldn't go in the ocean if you explain why the ocean is bad.
Dang.
So then she becomes a mermaid instead of a human because she's a human, and we got to do the whole thing in reverse, and then we get to the same conclusion at the end. I know inevitably we will end up...
I forgot that you hated this so much.
I know eventually we will end up doing a commentary video for the content, and I don't look forward to that day.
Wow.
Because I don't want to watch it.
This is a really good episode. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey of just hate. There's some bad movies out there, and I'm glad we got to talk about them today and just, blow off some steam. Anything else you'd like to add before we wrap up here?
No.
No. If you like to watch any of the movies we've mentioned today, don't. And if you would like to leave a comment or a little response in what is a movie that you will never rewatch, drop a comment or respond to the poll down below. Now, thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Nerdiest Podcast. Don't forget, if you're listening just within the first few days of release, you can still vote on the Nerdiest Awards, which is next week. It's going to be so amazing and so hype, and we want to do it every year, so make sure you send it to all your friends so we can get big responses so that we can just knock it out and do it again. So we're really hype about it. Make sure you follow on Instagram at the Nerdiest Podcast for updates and behind the scenes content. Get your own Nerdiest Podcast merch at thenerdiespodcast.com. We have new drops coming there very, very soon. And if that's not enough for you, you can become a Spotify member and get access to our very special Nerdiest Aftershow exclusively for you. Make sure you follow us at the Nerdiest Podcast at Nerdiest Pod and subscribe on YouTube at the Nerdiest Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. We will see you in the next episode. And until then, bye.